All right, let's move on with some new vocab. Let's go. We're ready for some more complex vocab. So up until this point, we've just been talking about cognados, things that look the same or are spelled similar and mean the same thing. And now we're going to start learning some Spanish words that are a little bit more complex. Okay, so let's learn how to start basic conversations and how to end them. First one, buenos días. So even though the word día, meaning day, día, ends with an A and would typically indicate maybe a feminine word, it's actually a masculine word. El día, el día. It's a masculine word. And so we use buenos to describe that. Buenos días. Buenos días. Good morning or good day, technical translation. Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. So notice how buenos changes to buenas because now we're talking about a feminine word. Tardes, la tarde is a feminine word meaning the afternoon. So buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. Buenas noches. Buenas noches. Good evening. Hola. Hola. Remember when we talked about our H? The H is silent in most words. So our Spanish H is silent. We have hola, not hola. We have hola. Hola. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? How are you? ¿Cómo estás? Now, this is how you would ask someone when you say ¿Cómo estás? This is how are you to a familiar person. So this is someone that you would talk to, either someone that is your peer or the same age or younger, or someone you already know pretty well, because this is using the conjugation of the verb estar for the more familiar person. If you wanted to ask someone who was maybe older than you or that you didn't know well or was a stranger and you've just met them, you would use the more formal form of you, which is usted. So you'd say, ¿Cómo está usted? And notice how we drop the S, ¿Cómo estás? Now we have ¿Cómo está usted? ¿Cómo está usted? Is how you ask someone you don't know well. ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal? How's it going? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué pasa? What's happening? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa? So a couple more kind of casual greetings. To answer these things, so if someone asks you, ¿Cómo estás? You can say, estoy bien. Estoy muy bien. I'm very good. Estoy bien. I'm good. Estoy más o menos. I'm, in technical translation, more or less, which means kind of like fine or so-so, right? Más o menos. You could also say regular. Estoy regular, right? I'm regular. I'm normal. Estoy mal. Estoy mal. I'm bad. Today I'm just not feeling well. And here's the thing, we're going to learn way more feeling words as the time goes on in a different unit, so don't worry about that. Right now we're just kind of doing real simple responses. So, ¿Cómo estás? Estoy bien. Estoy bien. Or estoy mal. Or estoy regular. Más o menos. ¿Y tú? ¿Y tú? The word tú with the accent means you. And this is the very familiar, friendly, casual you, okay? ¿Y tú? Or y usted. Remember we said usted was our formal you, okay? So this is talking to someone that you don't know well, or someone that you've got a lot of respect for that you want to use the formal you in. So maybe you're in a interview or, what have you, talking to the president. Who knows? Y usted, and you, formal. Y tú, and you, familiar. Okay, práctica. Tell me whether the sentence is familiar or formal. First one, ¿Cómo está usted? ¿Cómo está usted? You'll see this abbreviation of usted often. The UD period is going to mean usted. Okay? I want you to look at each one of these sentences. Señor Ortega le presentó a Ana Vega. So you're going to tell me, are these familiar or formal. Just kind of looking at context clues here. You may not know all of these words, so it's okay. But look at the context clues and see if you can make an educated guess. Is it familiar or formal? Pause the video, and when you're ready, you can come back for the answers. All right, let's see how you did. Take a look up ahead. The first one was formal. ¿Cómo está usted? That kind of gave it away. Usted is our formal you. So that was our formal one. Señor Ortega. Señor is like Mr. So Mr. Ortega le presentó a Ana Vega. Let me present you to Ana Vega. That was more formal, talking to like an older gentleman and saying Mr. That kind of gave it away, right? ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? So we can see the estás with the S at the end. The ¿qué tal is a super casual greeting. We know that would be a familiar person. Te presento a Carolina. This one we haven't really talked about here, but the te versus the le. So if you see the le presento on number 2, versus the te presento. Le is going to be the more formal, where te is, you can kind of connect it, te to, is connected to the familiar you, the tu. All right. Perdón. ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? This is going to be more formal. There's no te llama, right? There's como te llama would be what are you called? Okay, so this is just asking someone's name. But the perdón is like pardon. Pardon me. That's a cognate, right? Pardon me. What is your name? That is going to be more formal. Awesome. All right, let's move on to another practice. Tell me if the following sentences are formal, usted, or informal, tú. All right. Buenos días, señora. Señora should give it away. That's Mrs. So go through, read these, look for your context clues, take a pause, and when you're ready for the answers, come on back. How'd you do? All right, first one. Señora should have given it away, and if it hadn't, ¿cómo está usted? Should have given it away. That is usted, the formal you, formal usted. Hola, ¿cómo te llamas? Te is giving away the informal tú, so that's very familiar, right? Te presento a Felipe. That's another familiar tú. Le presento a Maria. That is going to be using the usted formal version. Me llamo Juan Carlos. My name is Juan Carlos. ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? That is the tú form. Then we have ¿Cómo se llama, señor? That is usted. That is a more formal question right there. A lot of people, when they are just starting out speaking Spanish, will kind of lean towards the usted, the formal version, just until they get that really down, and then they'll start, kind of differentiating between the formal and the informal. But it's really, really important to know the difference between the two, because it could mean, traveling and talking to someone very new and using the informal way could be seen as super rude, right? So like you're talking with the formal version to someone who is older than you would show a lot of respect for that person. All right, let's learn more vocab. So we have adios. Adios is goodbye. Adios. Adios. And we have hasta luego. Hasta luego is see you later. Technically, hasta is used like until. So like until later. Luego, later. Hasta luego. You could use this with pretty much any day. Hasta mañana. See you tomorrow. You could say hasta lunes. See you Monday. Or until Monday. Hasta próxima semana. See you next week. So you can add a lot after hasta to make a lot of different goodbyes, right? Adios, hasta luego, hasta mañana. ¿Cómo te llamas? So we saw this in our practice, and now it's going to come back a little bit more. So ¿cómo te llamas? Is what are you called? So this is the technical translation. Llamar is to call. So ¿cómo te llamas? What are you called? So not technically your name. If I wanted to say what is your name, I would say ¿cómo es tu nombre? Or ¿qué es tu nombre? Right? ¿Qué es tu nombre? That is name, nombre. But when you're asking someone conversationally, like, what are you called? You're asking them what they want you to call them, right? So, ¿cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? This is more casual. Then we have ¿cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama is the more formal way. So what are you called formal? But also you could point and say, ¿cómo se llama? What is he or she, they called? You know, like what's their name? Pointing or indicating who you're talking about. ¿Cómo se llama is the se is used in the same way as the formal you. ¿Cómo se llama? Me llamo. So if I want to say my name is me llamo, notice how the endings change. So I'm going back. ¿Cómo te llamas with the as? Okay. But if I want to say my name is, I'd say me llamo. So the stem is the same, the double L and the A and the M, but the ending there changes. So me llamo, I am called. Me llamo Maestra Shelby. Se llama, he, she, they, or formal you are called blank. Se llama. I'm going to kind of break it down here. This would be a really good spot to pause and write this down or screenshot. But if I'm talking about myself, I'm saying me llamo. And my pronoun here is going to be the me, the te, the pink, okay? And then my form of llamar. So remember how I said llamar is the verb to call? So me llamo is I call myself. Me llamo. Te llamas. Te llamas is you call yourself. Familiar, right? Like the casual tú. Te llamas. Se llama. Se llama is they call themselves, or the formal you calls themselves or calls yourself. We is nos llamamos. Nos llamamos. That one's kind of a fun one to say. Nos llamamos. We call ourselves. And then finally, we do have a blank in there. There is another one that we use only in Spain that we will start talking about in future lessons. But today we're going to skip it. We're going to go right to se llaman. So there's a difference between se llama and se llaman. And the difference is that this is just talking about one person. He is called, she is called, you formal are called. Where this is talking about more than one person. They are called, like multiple people. That group over there is called se llaman. Or you all, if I'm talking to like more than one person. Y'all are called, right? Se llaman with an an at the end. Se llaman. All right, we have quién es. Quién es is who. So quién means who. Es. Who is blank. So we're pointing, indicating somehow quién es blank. And then someone would answer es is blank. So quién es, who is, versus es blank. So you are answering that with is blank. Okay, and that's usually used for he, she, they, it, those things. All right, then we have te presento a. We also saw this in our warm-up. Te presento a is let me introduce you to blank. And this one is the familiar, and you'll see that with the te. This is the you part of it, okay? Presento means I present. To you comes first. So to you, I present to blank. So that would be the person's name. Te presento a mi hermana. I'm gonna introduce you to my sister. Le presento is when you're talking to someone that formally, or talking about he or she. But this one would be like talking to a person, so you are saying you formally. Le presento a. To you, I present to this person. Okay? Te presento a, le presento a. Mucho gusto. Mucho gusto means nice to meet you. Technical translation is like much pleasure, right? Nice to meet you. Mucho gusto. encantado or encantada, depending on if you are feminine or masculine, right? So enchanted, delighted to meet you. That's a good response when you meet someone. Encantado, encantada. Igualmente is like saying equally or likewise. And you can kind of hear that igualmente sounds like equally. And a lot of times when you see an ly word in English, you will see an mente at the end of that, okay? Igualmente, equally or likewise. Okay, let's practice. Okay, so we're going to listen to a song. This is a song by, I believe it's a Venezuelan pop singer. It is called ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? What does that mean? ¿Cómo te llamas? By Illich. And so we are going to listen to this. If you have access to this, I did put this in the assignments tab, but I also have it linked in this presentation. If you have access to a printer, print it out. I've kind of chunked up the lyrics here, or las letras, or you may look up the lyrics on a different device just so that you have a visual representation of what you are hearing. And we're going to listen to the song and kind of translate as we go. You may have to listen to the song a couple times to really get those lyrics, but use context clues from the video so you're watching what he's doing. Use some of this new vocab and your knowledge of cognates and see what you can pull out.
Estás sentada frente a mí, tus ojos viendo al infinito. No te quiero interrumpir, aún somos dos desconocidos. Estás sentada frente a mí, la más hermosa que haya visto, tan perfecta para mí. Y aún ni sabes que yo existo. Sé que quizá no te vuelva a ver. Sé que esto pasa una sola vez. Baby, yo solo quiero saber cómo te llamas. ¿Cómo te llamas? Solo quiero acercarme, ir de frente y preguntar cómo te llamas. Estás sentada frente a mí, recoges todo para irte y me toca decidir si me atrevo a decirte. Sé que quizá no te vuelva a ver, sé que esto pasa una sola vez. Baby, yo solo quiero saber cómo te llamas. ¿Cómo te llamas? Solo quiero acercarme, ir de frente y preguntar cómo te llamas. Te pido perdón por enamorarme sin pedir permiso. Te pido perdón por amarte sin haberte conocido. Te pido. Solo quiero saber cómo te llamas. ¿Cómo te llamas? Solo quiero acercarme, ir de frente y preguntar cómo te llamas. ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? Solo quiero acercarme, ir de frente y preguntar cómo te llamas.
So I want you to take some time to kind of review those lyrics, see if there's anything that you can pull out. And honestly, there's so many words in there that you wouldn't know. So please don't beat yourself up if you don't have a clue what's going on. But see what you can translate or see what you have a guess for. Use your context clues. Use those kind of like knowledgeable guesses to try to figure that out. If you have to go and look up a couple of words, that's absolutely fine. But as we continue through these lessons, I want you to go back to these lyrics or go back to this song and see if you can continue to fill out more and more of the lyrics until you really understand what's being said in this song. That's also a really, really fun way to learn a language is to, sometimes you listen to a song that you like and you look at the lyrics in front of you and see what you can understand. And then as you learn more, you just keep going back to that same song until you're like, wow, I really get it. I know exactly what he's saying here. So please make sure that you're returning to this song as we continue. All right. Bien hecho, pause and reflect, practice, or if you're feeling good with what you've learned so far, you may move ahead to the next part. All right, in this next part, we're going to have a warm-up. Whether you're, at home by yourself or in class talking to a neighbor or with a sibling or a partner, tell your neighbor or a family member good morning, good afternoon in Spanish. Ask them how they're doing today in Spanish. The best way to test your knowledge is to apply it to real life scenarios. So maybe you just go in and talk to a family member and say, hola, ¿cómo estás? Or ¿cómo está usted, right? How are you? ¿Cómo te llamas? Like, obviously, you might know their name already, but just talking to them in Spanish. You'll know you've mastered it when you can teach it to a friend. So maybe that family member doesn't know any Spanish, doesn't know how to respond to you in Spanish. Teach them what you've learned, right? And see if you can have a basic conversation using what you have so far. All right. Now we're back. We're going to do some more vocab. So vamos a aprender. We're going to learn más vocabulario. More vocab. So the first one is, ¿qué día es hoy? ¿Qué día es hoy? ¿Qué is what? Día de es is, and hoy is today. Remember that silent H, hoy. ¿Qué día es hoy? What day is today? To answer that question, you would say, hoy es, and then give the day of the week, which we're going to learn next. So, hoy es blank. All right. ¿Qué día es mañana? Mañana can mean two different things. Mañana can mean the morning, or it can mean tomorrow. And this one, you really just have to focus on the context of the lesson, or context of the conversation rather, to determine what we're talking about. ¿Qué día es mañana? What day is the morning, or what day is tomorrow? Tomorrow makes more sense in this scenario. To answer that question, you would say, mañana es, mañana. And remember that N with the little squiggle on top? It's called a tilde. Mañana, ñe, makes a ñ sound. Mañana, mañana. Es blank. And we're going to learn our days of the week through a song. But before we learn the song, we have el día. El día is a masculine word. That's why it starts with el rather than la. El día is the day. La semana. La semana is the week. La semana. And el mes is the month. El mes. Hay 12 meses en un año. Año is a year. There are 12 months in a year. El mes. If I wanted to pluralize mes, I just add es at the end. Meses. Meses. Las semanas. Los días are all the plurals of those words. All right, let's learn our days of the week through a fun little song. Get ready to listen.
Hey, hey, yo les enseño los días de la semana. ¿Ya listos? Domingo, lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado. 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 Yo canto, tú cantas, nosotros cantamos. Él canta, ella canta, ellos cantan todos juntos. Si quieres aprender los días, solo ven aquí. Cantemos, cantemos, cantemos juntos, sí. Domingo, lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado. 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 Vamos a cantar. Yo canto, tú cantas, nosotros cantamos. Él canta, ella canta, ellos cantan todos juntos. Si quieres aprender los años, solo ven aquí. Cantemos, cantemos, cantemos juntos, sí. Enero, febrero, marzo, abril, mayo, junio, julio, agosto, septiembre, octubre, noviembre, diciembre. 12 meses al año. Otra vez. Enero, febrero, marzo, abril, mayo, junio, julio, agosto, septiembre, octubre, noviembre, diciembre. El año. Enero, febrero, marzo, abril, mayo, junio, julio, agosto, septiembre, octubre, noviembre, diciembre. El año. Domingo, lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado. Domingo, lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado. Domingo, lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado. Domingo, lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado.
All right, excelente. So we've now learned not only the days of the week, so los días de la semana, but also los meses del año. So we've learned the days of the week and the months of the year. Please go back and review that video as you learn and try to stick that in your head and memorize those days. But we're also going to practice. All right, let's see what's next. So we have some more vocab. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about the weather. Now this one gets a little confusing because tiempo technically means time. And so in the Spanish language, it's kind of contextual where we're looking at the context of this question. ¿Qué tiempo hace? Hace means to do. So it's basically asking, like, what's the weather doing? Okay, so what is the, what's it like right now? What's the weather like? Hacer, to do, or to make. So again, ¿qué tiempo hace? ¿Qué tiempo hace? What is the weather doing? Then we have hace sol. So to respond to that question, hace sol. Also at the bottom here, I'm not sure if you can see with this little recording device, but at the bottom, we talk about the seasons. So we have estación, verano, y primavera. So when is it sunny? Hace sol en el verano y la primavera. It is sunny in the summer, verano, y primavera, which is spring. Primavera. Hace sol. It's sunny. Hace calor. It's hot. En el estación verano, right? So in verano, in the summer, hace calor. It's hot. It's hot. This poor guy's saucing. All right. Hace frío. Hace frío. It's cold. Frío kind of reminds me of the word freeze, right? Hace frío. Frío. And there's an accent on the I. When you see accents on Spanish words, that's where you are emphasizing that pronunciation. Hace frío. Frío. It's not frío, it's frío. Like that I really has an emphasis. Hace frío en el estación invierno. Invierno is the winter. Winter. Invierno. Hace fresco. Hace fresco es mi favorito. Hace fresco means it's like mild, like kind of breezy, chill, right? Cool. Hace fresco en mi estación favorito, otoño, otoño, autumn, or fall, otoño. When I think of otoño, I think of October, and that's kind of like the pinnacle of the fall, right? So hace fresco en otoño, in the fall, it's mild, or it's cool, right? Hace viento. Hace viento. This poor guy's umbrella, su paraguas is broken. Hace viento, it's windy. And hace viento en otoño y la primavera también. Llueve. Llueve comes from the verb llovar. Llovar is to rain. Llueve means it rains. It's raining outside, right? So it's raining. Llueve has the double L, so make sure that when you're pronouncing that, you are not saying llueve, right? It's Y sound with the two L's. Llueve en verano y la primavera. Nieva. Nieva comes from the word nevar. Nevar is to snow. Nieva means it snows. So it's snowing outside. That would be a good response to ¿Qué tiempo hace? Nieva. Nieva en el invierno. All right. Talking about las estaciones in Spanish, we have another Basho and Friends. I know these are corny, you guys, but they're so fun to learn. It's kind of like when you throw it all the way back to when you learned your first language, you heard lots of like children's songs and rhymes and read books or kids' books to learn those basic words. They were kind of doing that again. So bear with the corniness and, review these weather items with another fun song.
Oh, hola Cosmo. ¿Quieres cantar conmigo sobre las estaciones del año? Ándale, vámonos.
La primavera, la lluvia, el verano, el calor, el otoño, el viento, el invierno, el frío. La primavera, la lluvia, el verano, el calor, el otoño, el viento, el invierno, el frío. En la primavera llueve, las flores florecen, nacen animales, todos aparecen. Luego en el verano hace mucha calor, jugamos afuera y cantamos con amor.
Ay, qué divertido. Aprendimos sobre la primavera y el verano. Listo, listo. Viene el otoño. Agarra tu casco.
La primavera, la lluvia, el verano, el calor, el otoño, el viento, el invierno, el frío. La primavera, la lluvia, el verano, el calor, otoño, el viento, el invierno, el frío. En el otoño hay viento, las hojas cambian color, un mundo más tranquilo y ya no hace calor. En el invierno hace frío, mira la nieve, Dios mío, y todo va más lento.
Bueno, ahora cantemos juntos. Cosmo, ¿ya estás listo para cantar? ¡Qué calidad! ¿Y niños, están listos también? ¡Órale, vámonos!
Cuando diga primavera, digan lluvia, primavera, lluvia, primavera, lluvia. Cuando diga verano, digan calor, verano, calor, verano, calor. Cuando diga otoño, digan viento, otoño, viento, otoño, viento. Cuando diga invierno, digan frío, invierno, frío, invierno, frío. Primavera, la lluvia, el verano, el calor, el otoño, el viento, el invierno, el frío, la primavera, la lluvia, el verano, el calor, el otoño, el viento, el invierno, el frío.
Aprendimos todas las estaciones. Gracias, niños, por toda su ayuda. Ya lo hicimos. Oh, y gracias a ti también, Cosmo, por tu ayuda. Hasta pronto, amigos. Adiós.
What's fun about that song is that I was able to pull out so many things we've already talked about in this video, which is so fun. Even at the end, he says, he's doing his little monologue and he says, adios, hasta pronto. We haven't learned about pronto yet, but hasta pronto, you remember hasta is like until, pronto is like very soon. So it's saying like, see you very soon, hasta pronto. So you guys can kind of add that to your vocab. But there's so many things in there that we've already talked about that was kind of a fun thing to hear. All right, let's do a little practice. All right, vamos a practicar. Unscramble the weather. So, ¿qué tiempo hace is the question. What's the weather like? And you are going to tell me what the weather's like looking at the words here and kind of unscrambling those things. Please take your time, pause the video, unscramble, and then we'll talk about the answers when you come back. Okay, my mistake as I'm making this video, I realized that in my slideshow, I've added the answers to the bottom. So there's little hints at the bottom. Number 1, hace calor. Hace calor. It's hot out, right? It's hot. Hace viento was the second one. Hace viento, it is windy. When I think of the word viento, I think of, and my brain works in kind of crazy ways, and I think of lots of mnemonics. I think of like a vent, blows air out, right? So viento is the wind, viento. Hace sol is number 3. Número 3, hace sol, which is it's sunny. Número 4, llueve, llueve, it's raining. Número 5, nieva, nieva, it snows. All right, a little bit of solo practice for you. So once I've explained this a little bit, you can pause the video and come back when you're done practicing. But just a fun game. It's basically Frogger. So you are jumping the frog by spelling the letters of the vocab that we just learned. So you're practicing this vocab with Splatman. You can click the image above to play, or you can check the link in your assignments. Have fun. All right, ¿estás listo para más práctica? We're going to practice more. This is another blue kit, but we're practicing our calendar. So this is going to be more, kind of drifting away from the weather and more of the days of the week and the months of the year. So you can use this blue kit. You can choose your own game mode and watch the tutorial on how to play. Challenge yourself to play a different game than you have in the past when we've done our solo blue kits. Click the image to the right to play or check your assignments. Have fun. Okay, so now we have a little bit of a fun project that we're going to do. This one is kind of like a silly little art project, but I always think it's fun to practice. You're going to be folding a paper in half and making kind of like a flip book, if you've ever seen those, where as you flip them, they change. But we're going to do it surrounding weather. So you are going to label these with your new Spanish vocab. I'm going to play this video here of myself giving more detailed directions on how to do it. Here we go.
Hola, hola, vamos a hacer un proyecto para practicar nuestro vocabulario. Primero, dobla or fold el papel por la mitad. So you're going to fold it in half. Trato de hacer que mi pliegue sea lo más perfecto posible. So I'm trying to make mine as perfect as possible. Tómate tu tiempo. Take your time. You know, don't rush it. You have all the time in the world. Luego, corta 3 tiras solo en la primera página. So you are just cutting 3 slits or 3 flaps on the first part of your card. It looks kind of like a card. Si no confías en tus habilidades artísticas, primero puedes dibujarlas con lápiz. If you're not super confident in your artistic skills and you want to draw your lines before you cut them, you absolutely may do that. Luego te dibujarás a ti mismo o a un personaje en algún tipo de clima o tiempo. So another word that we use for weather is el clima. El clima kind of sounds like climate. So you are going to be drawing a person in a climate of your choice, or in the weather situation of your choice. For me, I'm drawing mine in a nice sunny day, so hace sol. Es un clima perfecto, ni demasiado caliente, ni demasiado frío. It's not too hot, not too cold. It's a good day. No lo muestro en este video, pero asegúrate de etiquetar. So make sure you're labeling tu vocabulario, your vocab. Make sure you label everything. And then en el interior de tu tarjeta dibujarás un nuevo escenario del clima. So in the inside, you are also drawing a new scene with different weather for your person or tu persona. Make sure that you're labeling this one también also. Por último, finally, puedes colorear, you can color y decorar tu dibujo como quieres. So you can decorate and color however you would like to finish this. Make sure you use good craftsmanship. Make sure that you are actively using that vocab by labeling it. And then at the end, you'll have a flip book that you can kind of flip the different pieces to create different weather situations. And you can do this multiple times and make different flip books for different weather situations. It is completely up to you.
All right, awesome, bien hecho. So I want you to pause and reflect, work on that little project. I know that sometimes, especially with optional projects like that, it seems like, oh, I'm just gonna keep following the video and listening, but actively applying your knowledge to little art projects or writing them down or taking notes or having a conversation with someone, listening to a video or a song in Spanish, applying them to real life situations is how you are going to learn and how you're going to retain that information. So please make sure that you are practicing those with these little projects. So take a pause. Work on that for a little while. It's a good little brain break to color and label and draw and recall all of the words that we've just learned. And then when you're feeling really good about your project, you may move ahead to the next part. All right, to warm up, we're going to unscramble the days of the week. When you are done, so you're going to pause here, unscramble these words, write them down so you remember what you did for these warm-ups, right? Writing them down is going to help you retain that information. Once you're done, unpause, and I will tell you the answers on the next slide. Okay, let's see how you did. Número uno, sábado, sábado, Saturday, sábado. And remember that accent over the A gives you a really accentuated first syllable. Sábado, sábado. Lunes, lunes is Monday. I also want you to note that you don't capitalize the days of the week like you do in English. They stay uncapitalized. Or lowercase. Also, the days of the week start with Sunday on a Spanish calendar. Sábado, lunes, miércoles, Hércoles, that has the accent on the E, miércoles, miércoles. And remember, those accents are part of the spelling. So if you are really trying to get to a level of fluency, you want to really remember where those emphases are on the words. So sábado, miércoles, both have accents. Martes is Tuesday, martes, Tuesday. And domingo is Sunday, domingo. Good job. All right, we're going to talk about some geography, geografía. El país means country. This is our very first vocab for the geography portion. There's so many países in the world that speak Spanish. Let's learn about some of these countries and have Spanish listed as one of their main languages, if not their number one language. And I want you to think of all of the possibilities that you can unlock when you learn to communicate with new pieces of the world, right? There are so many countries whose main language is Spanish that if you can even just have basic conversations, right? You have now unlocked a whole new portion of the world that you can communicate with. And I think that is so amazing. Along the way, we're going to keep learning about traditions and interesting facts from many of these countries, but it's nice to kind of just get a little sampling of information, or at least know what these countries are. And maybe you already know some. All right, first, let's talk about a little bit of vocab surrounding countries and where we're from. So if we were having a conversation back and forth, you may ask, where are you from? ¿De dónde eres? And now you see the ending of the ES is very similar to the ending of the AS of ¿Cómo te llamas? So this is going to be the to form, familiar. Where are you from? ¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde es usted? ¿De dónde es usted? Where are you from? That's the formal. Formal. Where are you from? Formal. And then you have ¿de dónde es él? Or ella. Él is he. Ella is she. ¿De dónde es él or ella? ¿De dónde son? Where are they from? ¿De dónde son? Where are they from? All right. Then we have the answers to those questions. So if someone says, ¿de dónde eres? Where are you from? You could say, soy de. I am from. Soy de Madison, Wisconsin. Soy de. The de is of. Like, I am of Madison. Eres de, you are from, and this is the familiar to form, right? Eres de dónde eres? Eres de, you are from. Es de. Es de is he or she or the formal you, the usted, are from, right? Es de blank. Somos de, we are from. Somos de, we are from. And finally, son de blank. Son de blank. De donde son? Where are they from? Son de Guatemala. All right, let's talk about a couple of these countries. So we have Argentina. Argentina. Remember that G makes that H sound. Argentina. The capital is Buenos Aires. The population is about 46 million people. An interesting fact about Argentina is that it's the birthplace of the tango, which is a world famous dance maybe you know about, and a music genre. So it's something kind of fun. Later, look up some tango music, see if you can learn some tango dance moves. Bolivia, Bolivia. The capital is Sucre, Bolivia. And then that is the constitutional capital. But La Paz is the seat of the government, which is kind of interesting that there's two places that they consider the capital. The population is about 12 million people. One interesting fact about Bolivia is that it has the world's largest salt flat called Salar de Uyuni. I've seen some pictures of that. Absolutely beautiful. Something you might want to look up later. We have Chile. Chile is kind of interesting. I always like to think of, see this long red country here. Looks like a chili pepper. Chile. The capital of Chile is Santiago. The population is about 19 million people in that small, skinny country on the side there of South America. Interesting fact is that Chile is home to the Atacama Desert, which is the driest desert in the entire world. Colombia. Colombia, the capital is Bogota. Colombia is one of the first countries that border Central America, so the first countries on the north side of South America. The population is about 52 million people. An interesting fact is that Colombia is the second most biodiverse country in the world after Brazil. Ignore my kitty meowing over here. Then we have Costa Rica. The capital is San Jose. Costa Rica, San Jose. Population is 5.3 million people. This is kind of in the middle of Central America, if you look on the map over there. An interesting fact is that Costa Rica abolished its army in 1948 and has been without a military ever since. Cuba. The capital of Cuba is Havana. There is a song, I believe, by Camila Cabello called Havana. Cuba has about 11.3 million people, and the interesting fact is that Cuba is known for its classic cars, which is a result of the trade embargo that has been in place since the 1960s. República Dominicana. The capital is Santo Domingo. Some people have been to Punta Cana. I've been to Baibe, República Dominicana. Lots of amazing places to go. Beautiful, beautiful people. Beautiful culture. The population is 11 million people. The interesting fact is that the Dominican Republic is where Christopher Columbus first landed in the New World in 1492. Ecuador. The capital is Quito, Ecuador. The population is 18 million people. Interesting fact is that Ecuador is one of the few countries named after a geographical feature, the equator. It's also where the Galapagos Islands are, so there are some amazingly interesting and unique animals to Ecuador that you absolutely should look up. El Salvador, San Salvador is the capital. El Salvador is the smallest and most densely populated country in Central America with 6.5 million people in that teeny tiny little red zone on the map in Central America, if you look, it's so tiny. Equatorial Guinea is the only country where Spanish is spoken in Africa. So it's the only African country where Spanish is the official language. There's about 1.6 million people in Equatorial Guinea. The capital that's current is Malabo, but in the future they are planning on making Oyala the future capital. So if you see, it's teeny tiny little country in Africa. Guatemala City is the capital of Guatemala. It has about 20 million people right there in Central America. The fun fact is that Guatemala is known for its rich Mayan heritage, including the ancient city of Tikal. Tikal has lots of ancient pyramids. There's one right there. It also has the country's bird is called a quetzal, and there's lots of beautiful legends about the quetzal, and which has this gorgeous tail. All right, Honduras, the capital is Tegucigalpa, Honduras. It has about 10 million people in Central America. And an interesting fact is that Honduras is home to the Copan ruins, and that's a really important Mayan archaeological site, which is awesome. So there's this really gorgeous ruins there that you can go and explore. Mexico City is the capital of Mexico. The population is about 132 million. So a much bigger country in Central America, borders the United States. The interesting fact about Mexico City is that Mexico City is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the Americas. Also home of my favorite artist, Frida Kahlo, who you may have heard about. Nicaragua, the capital is Managua, Nicaragua. The population is about 7.2 million people. Interesting fact is that Nicaragua is known as the land of lakes and volcanoes. There are many volcanoes in that small país of Nicaragua. Panama City is the capital of Panama. Population's about 4.5 million people. An interesting fact is that the Panama Canal, which connects the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans, is one of the most significant engineering marvels in the entire world, and it's located right there in Panama. Paraguay, Asunción, Paraguay is Asunción is the capital. It's about 7.5 million people living there. An interesting fact is that Paraguay is one of the few landlocked countries in South America. So it's right there in the middle. It does not border up against an ocean, and is one of the very few countries in South America that does not border an ocean. Peru. Lima is the capital of Peru. The population is about 34 million. It's a little bit of a bigger country. If you look on the map there, right on the side of South America, up on the northern side of that. The interesting fact about Peru is that it's the home to Machu Picchu, which is an ancient Incan city located high in the Andes Mountains. Absolutely gorgeous if you ever get a chance to go there. Spain is over in Europe. Okay, so the capital is Madrid, Spain. The population is about 47 million people. Interesting fact is that Spain is known for its historic art and architecture, including works by artists like Picasso and Gaudi. So lots of amazing artists have come out of Spain. Beautiful culture, beautiful architecture. Venezuela, Caracas, Venezuela is the capital. Caracas. 29 million people live in Venezuela. An interesting fact about Venezuela is it is the home to Angel Falls, which is the world's highest uninterrupted waterfall. Finally, we're going to listen to this song by Gente de Zona featuring Mark Anthony. If you know Mark Anthony, he was married to J-Lo for quite a few years. But this song is called La Gozadera, and it is talking about lots of different people from Spanish-speaking countries. And so let's see how many you can catch from the song. Quite a few, if not all of them. All right, we also saw some of the old cars that Cuba is famous for. Okay, so I want you to practice. You're going to write the name of the northernmost country from each pair. Chile, Ecuador, Panama, Paraguay, Argentina, Venezuela, Peru, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Honduras, Bolivia, Guatemala, El Salvador, Estados Unidos. Take a few moments and see if you can figure that out. While you're doing that, do a little of your own research and find some more interesting facts about each of these countries. So I want you to pull up a map, look at it, and then look up each one of those countries and see if you can find some more information about them. Pause the video and then come back when you're ready to move on. All right, bien hecho. Again, I know we're paused doing some of that practice, but I also want you to reflect and practice some more. Again, I want you to look into some of these countries, learn some more about them, and if you're feeling good with what you've learned, move ahead to the next part. We are nearly done with our Lección Preliminar. All right, we're going to try some more practice. Each one of these next practice pages, I want you to, once I show the practice, pause it, see if you can do it. Make sure you're writing those down in a journal or a binder or a notebook somewhere, and then come back when you're ready to look at the answers. I'm just going to show the page, pause, and then show the answers. First one, you're just completing the sentences with the correct form of the verb. And this one is using llamar. All right, let's see how you did. Pause here to look at your answers. When you're ready for the next one, unpause. All right, this one you're completing the following. Conversation between Carlos and Beatriz. Pause here so that you can complete your answers, and then unpause when you're ready for the respuestas. All right, how did you do? Okay, moving on to the next practice. Complete the sentence with the correct word below in bold. And the answers? Great job. Okay, a little bit of extra. There are other helpful words in this lesson that can assist you in having more in-depth conversations. I know our conversations are pretty basic at this point, but just some words that could help with responses. In the next few slides, we'll cover a few more vocabulary words for classroom and conversational use. La clase. La clase is the class, and then to say what kind of class it is, you would use the word de, which we learned when we were talking about origin, which means of. So, la clase de español, the class of Spanish. La clase de matemáticas is the class of math. El maestro is masculine teacher. La maestra, feminine teacher. Soy la maestra de la clase de español. I am the teacher of Spanish class. Señor, señor is how you say Mr. Señora, Mrs. And señorita is Miss. Perdón kind of sounds like pardon, and we had talked about this earlier in the video. Perdón means excuse me or pardon me. Por favor is please. In technical translation, por is for and favor is favor. So we have like for favor, please is how we use that. Por favor. Gracias, thank you, or muchas gracias is much thanks, right? Or much thank you. Thank you very much. However you want to say that in an English translation, muchas gracias. De nada means of nothing, which we would translate to you're welcome, right? Por favor, de nada. Then we have sí, which means yes. Sí with an accent. There is an accent on that I because sí without the accent is actually a completely different word. So sí with an I. Yes. No is the same. Perfect cognate, no. And that is all the vocab that we have for this section. I am going to put a quiz for the Lección Preliminar in your activities and assignments tab. So please make sure that you are quizzing yourself to see how you did and how you understand. If you get about an 80% or higher, then I would encourage you to move on to the next part. If you do not, and I would then encourage you to go back and rewatch this video and learn a little bit more. You do that practice a couple more times until you really understand the vocab and the grammar from the Lección Preliminar. The thing about learning a language is that everything builds on each other, and so if you don't have a really good grip of your first lesson, then moving on to the next one's going to be much more difficult, and it will continue to get more difficult after that. So please make sure that you are looking at your assessment, doing the assessment, seeing where you fall or where you're landing on your understanding, and then doing the work to either improve or move on to the next portion. Good luck. I'll see you in the next lesson. Hola, hola a todos. Soy tu maestra. Me llamo señora Shelby o maestra Shelby. Esta es nuestra lección preliminar. This is our first lesson together en la que vamos a aprender y practicar vocabulario. We're going to learn and practice our vocab sobre conversaciones básicas, so about basic conversation. We'll also learn about el clima, the climate or weather, y de dónde son las personas, where are people from. También vamos a hablar sobre la pronunciación correcta. So we will also talk about correct pronunciation, piezas gramaticales, so little grammar pieces, basic ones that will help us communicate and talk in a basic conversation. All right, let's go. Vamos.